Hello everybody, this is Tyler from... Wow, I screwed up my intro there. Hello everybody, this is Tyler here once again from the Other Games channel. Boy, is it so bright that, I almost can't see anything. But anyways, today I am here to review Goosebumps book number 11. And honestly, I kind of wish I reviewed this like closer to Halloween, but whatever. I'm pretty sure people are still having that feeling of Halloween still inside them, I guess. I don't know. But today I'm going to be reviewing Goosebumps book number 11, The Haunted Mask. Quite a big fan favorite book from a good portion of the Goosebumps community. And also widely considered by a lot of people to be one of the best episodes of the Goosebumps TV show from the 90s. So here we are. Once again, just like every other book I reviewed so far, this is the reprint from 2003. Pretty nice condition, I would say. So there's that. And funny enough, unlike with the other three books that I've covered so far, this one, I definitely kind of remember the story of it more so from the TV episode than the book. I've seen the TV episode like multiple times, and I really enjoyed it. And I've always for a while wanted to read the book that this was based off of, and the book is pretty much just as great as the TV episode was. Now, keep in mind there are probably gonna be a few spoilers here and there in this review, so this is your spoiler warning. But anyways, the plot of The Haunted Mask: this girl named Carly Beth gets constantly terrified, easily scared of everything around her, and one of the main causes of this were two of her friends in school named Chuck and Steve. And for this Halloween, she wanted to try and get revenge on them, try to be the scary one for once. And she goes to this party store that just came up recently in her town, and she was browsing around it, and eventually she found the back room of the place and found a bunch of more hideous, scary, terrifying looking masks. And she's like, yep, that's what I want to go with. And the store owner was like, no, these aren't for sale. No, don't buy them. And after many failed attempts, she was eventually able to get the mask and, starts putting it on. And as soon as she starts using it, it starts pretty much scaring everybody around her, both her little brother Noah and her best friend Sabrina, and several of the other trick-or-treaters during Halloween. And she eventually, as she's, wearing the mask, she starts noticing some weird things about her. Her voice suddenly changes, while having the mask on, and she, seems a lot more intimidating around other people. She starts realizing this throughout the entire story, and once she eventually gets to Chuck and Steve, she eventually does scare them and, succeeded. So she was able to make that plan work. But meanwhile, when she was at Sabrina's house, getting all the candy out, she tries to take off the mask, but it won't come off. And, Sabrina soon realizes, oh, your mask has no bottom line on it. And Carly Beth is like, what? And she just starts running and runs back to the store. And the store owner, says that the masks that he didn't want to sell to her are actual, real faces that he made. And he said that the only way that that Carly Beth will be able to get the mask off of her is if she had a symbol of love with her. And it leads to the point of the story where a bunch of all the other freaky masks start following her, and she runs. And then she remembers this plaster head that her mom made for her that she was carrying around with her during trick-or-treating. She decides to grab that and try to scare off the masks with it, the head being, of course, a symbol of love, and the masks all just fly away, and Carly Beth was finally able to take the mask off, and for the most part, that's pretty much where the story ends. Yeah, like I said, this was about pretty much as good as the TV episode was. Now, seeing that I have seen the TV episode of this multiple times before reading the book, I have noticed, a few subtle differences here and there. One of the biggest things that they cut out from the TV episode was a scene where Carly Beth and Sabrina were taking part of some sort of science fair, and Chuck and Steve scared her with what they believed to be oh my god, I lost my tarantula, and Carly Beth's like, ah! and she realized that it's literally like one of them like just wiggling their fingers on her ankle or something. Like, let me tell you something. If they were to like put a scene like that in any sort of like kids book nowadays, there is probably gonna be a whole lot of controversy, and R.L. Stine probably would have gotten canceled for it. But it was the 90s. You were kind of able to get away with a lot more stuff, I guess. But yeah, that scene was like, reading it now, it was like really strange and bizarre. And I could kind of see why they got rid of it from the TV episode. I think it makes a lot of sense. Because, yeah, that was just like strange. But other than that, the book was great. It kind of had like, a great message at the very end about loving yourself. It's probably the first time I've read a Goosebumps book that had like some sort of moral behind it. You wouldn't think that like a book series, of like, terrifying younger readers would have like, had some sort of moral, but it did. And, it's a good moral, Loving yourself's about as important as loving pretty much anything. So, with that being said, love The Haunted Mask. Great story, very likable characters. Definitely, was pretty intense. Despite the fact that I already knew like the storyline before reading this, because the TV episode, of course. But like it was still, very nice to like just pretty much see where this all came from. Love The Haunted Mask. Definitely recommend it to everybody who wants to get into Goosebumps. Like if you had to pick like one book to start Goosebumps off, I would say either this or Stay Out of the Basement. I still really love Stay Out of the Basement, but this is like definitely, I would say, a close second for me when it comes to best Goosebumps book I've read so far. So with all that positive energy out of the way, I'm giving Haunted Mask a rating of 9.5 out of 10. Really amazing book. It was close to being Stay Out of the Basement, but I just think Stay Out of the Basement, first of all, I've never even know the story about Stay Out of the Basement before reading it, so I guess, the fact that I read it for the first time and, I don't know. That's probably why I gave Stay Out of the Basement a higher rating than this, but this is still a great book, still check it out. 9.5 is still a really good score in my opinion, so with all the rambling out of the way, that's about it for this Goosebumps book review of The Haunted Mask. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for whichever Goosebumps book I talk about next, because you never know. And with that being said, this is Tyler from the Air Games channel, signing out.